apologize for being late. We were down in McDowell County, and as Sabrina just mentioned, we had a town meeting there, and it was an extraordinary meeting. And we had a whole lot of very brave people talking, standing up, and tell us what poverty is about in West Virginia and McDowell County. And you all know we have poverty all over America. And it's about time that we started in the wealthiest nation in the world to talk about poverty. Before I go further, I want to thank the South Charleston Community Center. I want to thank Josh Thomas, Mike Pushkin, and Helen Strain, as well as Sabrina Schrader for their introductions and their entertainment. What this campaign is about and why we are doing so well and why we have now won 18 state primaries and caucuses. And with your help on Tuesday, West Virginia will be 19. Why we are doing so well is because we're doing something very radical for contemporary American politics. We're telling the truth. Believe me, the truth is not always pleasant, but it is important that we deal with reality and not push the truth underneath the carpet, because if you do that, we're never going to go forward.
Hell yeah.
Let me just start off on a truth that Sabrina was just talking about. I want you all to appreciate this. Historically, for a very long time in the United States and all over the world, people have been living longer hours. People have been living longer lives. Their life expectancy is going up. And yet what Sabrina was saying is that in McDowell County and in many parts of America now, we are actually seeing a decrease in life expectancy. You all know that? A decrease. And the reason for that is that millions of Americans now are living in despair. They have no work, or the income they're living with is so low that they're turning to drugs, they're turning to alcohol, and the suicide rate in this country is going up. And that is a question. Why? What goes on? How does it happen that in the wealthiest country in America, we have a life expectancy gap between McDowell County and Fairfax County, Virginia, of 18 years? 18 years for men. 18 years, the gap is low. I think it's 13 for women, but 18 years for men. So if you are born into a wealthy community, if you do not have the stress of living with poverty, if you got the health care that you need, if you are in a wealthy community, you can live 18 years longer than if you are in a poor community like that in McDowell County.
Bullshit.
In other words, poverty is a death sentence. Now, when people talk about poverty, often they say, well, it's too bad somebody is poor, they can't buy a big flat screen TV, their car is old, they can't go to a fancy restaurant. That is not what we're talking about. What poverty means is the stress of trying to determine how you're going to feed your family and your kids that week. How you're going to have enough money, how you're going to have enough money to put gas in the car to get to work, Because if you don't have gas in the car or your car breaks down and you can't get to work, you lose your job. And if you lose your job, you got no money and your life is radically altered. Poverty is getting sick and not having the money to go to the doctor or not having the money to pay for the deductible or the co-payment that you need.
Yep.
Poverty is having children who will never for one moment think that they will ever get to college because their families are so poor. So as a nation, we have got to recognize that we have one of the highest rates of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. About 22% of our kids are living in poverty. We have 47 million Americans living in poverty. And if elected President of the United States, this is an issue we will deal with. Campaign is doing well because we are having the courage to tell the American people that our current campaign finance system is corrupt and undermining American democracy. I saw a sign up from a veteran who fought in Iraq, and we thank all of our veterans for their service. But I'm reminded of the fact I was chairman of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs, and obviously I talk to veterans from all generations. And what veterans have done, what the men and women in our armed forces today are doing, are putting their lives on the line to defend our way of life and our democracy. And yet, as a result of this disastrous Citizens United campaign finance decision of the Supreme Court, our democracy now is being undermined with billionaires buying elections. Now, democracy is not a complicated idea. It means you got to vote, and you got to vote, and you got to vote. That's what it means. It does not mean that you can spend hundreds of millions of dollars to elect candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful. That is why together we are going to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision. Why together we are going to move toward public funding of elections. And that is why we can take on Republican governors who are working overtime trying to suppress the vote. When we live in a country which has one of the lowest voting turnout rates of any major country on earth, we don't want to make it harder for people to get involved in the democratic process. We want to make it easier. This campaign is not just taking on and ending a corrupt campaign finance system and opening up our democracy to all people. It is about ending a rigged economy.
Yeah!
A rigged economy is when the top 1/10 of 1% of Americans now own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. A rigged economy is when the 20 wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of America, 150 million people. A rigged economy is when the wealthiest family in this country, the Walton family of Walmart, has $149 billion in wealth. One family, more wealth than the bottom 40% of the American people. And here's what is even worse in the rigged economy. You got a family like the Walton family that owns Walmart. They pay their employees wages that are so low that many of those workers are on Medicaid or food stamps. You work at Walmart? Okay, is that right? Okay. I've got a Walmart worker right here confirming it. So I want you to think about it. And who is paying for the food stamps and the Medicaid of what you are? So what a rigged economy is about is working families who are struggling to keep their heads above water economically, paying more taxes because the wealthiest family in this country is not paying their workers a living wage. You know, I hear Republican senators and governors talk about the need for welfare reform. They think people are ripping off the welfare system. I'll tell you, the major welfare recipient in this country, to the tune of billions of dollars, is the Walton family, because we are subsidizing the wages that workers are getting because the wealthiest family in this country is not paying them adequate wages. So I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, pay your workers a living. We have got to ask ourselves why it is that today, despite all of the new technology that makes every worker here more productive, despite the great global economy, why it is that people are now working not 40 hours a week, but 50 or 60 hours a week. All right, why is it that in many homes around America, mom's working full-time, dad's working full-time, the kids are working full-time? In fact, as a nation, our people today work the longest hours of any people in the industrialized world. The Japanese are hard workers. We work longer hours than they do. Okay. Now, what we also have to appreciate is that a rigged economy is an economy with a trade policy which has been a disaster for this country. I just was in Indiana a couple of days ago. Talked to people there. In Indiana, you've got a large company called United Technologies. They are shutting down 2 plants in Indiana, throwing 2,100 workers out on the street. They're moving to Monterrey, Mexico, where they're paying workers there $3 an hour. And right here in West Virginia, you have lost tens of thousands of good-paying jobs as a result of free trade agreements like NAFTA or permanent normal trade relations with China. It is time to tell corporate America that if they want us to purchase their products, they better start manufacturing those products in West Virginia and I am sick and tired of corporate greed. Greed which allows companies to give compensation packages or severance packages of $150, $170 million to a CEO, but that they don't have enough money to stay in this country and they got to move abroad.
Yeah.
When we talk about creating an economy that works for all of us, what does that mean? It means, for a start, ending this absurdity of having a national minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. We're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage because anyone in this country who works 40 hours a week should not live in poverty. And when we talk about equitable wages, there is something fundamentally wrong when women in America make 79 cents on the dollar. Women want the whole damn dollar in their entitled. Let's also be honest that when we talk about the economy, it is not just McDowell County. All over this country, we have cities and towns where the unemployment rate is off the charts. Real unemployment is not 5%, which the newspapers tell you every month. It's really close to double that. And if we're going to deal with unemployment, we need a massive federal jobs program to put the American people back to work. I was in Flint, Michigan a couple of months ago and met with the parents there of children who are being poisoned by lead in the water that they have drunk.
Oh!
You got water problems here as well. Of course you do. I know. How is the water here? Is it drinkable yet?
No! I don't think it ever was drinkable.
Well, we have. I know. I know. I'm more than aware that you guys had a major drinking crisis, water crisis as well. All right, but all over this country, you're seeing communities now that are wondering whether the water they're drinking is in fact clean and safe water. But it's not just water. It is wastewater plants which are deteriorating, are inadequate, or obsolete. It is roads in my state. You know, sometimes people go into a pothole, they disappear for weeks. Cars get, the axles get broken. It is bridges in my state, in your state, thousands of bridges in need of repair. We used to have the best rail system in the entire world, no longer the case. Airports, very obsolete in many cases in America. Levees, dams. We need to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. And I gather that here in West Virginia, you need some work on your roads as well. Is that right?
Yep.
When we do those things, when we invest $1 trillion in rebuilding our infrastructure, we do two things. Number one, we make America more productive, so you don't have to wait online at some, traffic congestion, or lose your right tire when you go over a pothole.
Yep.
Number two, when we do that, we put 13 million Americans to work in good-paying jobs. This campaign is talking to the senior citizens. Let me tell you what you don't often see on TV. Here in West Virginia and Vermont and all over this country, there are millions of seniors and disabled veterans and people with disabilities trying to make it and get by on $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? Nobody can make it on $10,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. You think about it for a moment. You think about trying to pay for your medicine, heat your home, try to buy the food that you need, maybe put some gas in the car, buy the insurance you need. You can't do it on $10,000, $12,000 a year. Now, my Republican colleagues, they have the brilliant idea in the Senate of wanting to lower Social Security benefits. You're absolutely right. We ain't going to lower Social Security benefits. In fact, we're going to expand Social Security benefits. I think all of you know that a great nation is judged not by how many billionaires it has or how many nuclear weapons it has. It is judged by how we treat the weakest and most vulnerable. And the truth is that if we use that criteria in terms of our seniors and in terms of our children, we are not today doing very well. And I want to see us change that. This campaign is listening to young people. And young people are telling us two things. Number one, they are asking, how does it happen that for the first time in the modern history of the United States of America, their generation may have a lower standard of living than their parents? You got that? Okay. My father came to this country at the age of